to keep your summer enrollments open, or your SIS enrollments open through summer. So we battle that every summer, enrollments, keeping them open or creating them, either one. You just ask your SIS team to make sure that they don't end the SIS enrollments until the last day of summer school. That shouldn't be a problem. Most public summer schools do not go through July. If they do, then you will not end them until it does close. So that would typically sometimes be with your therapeutic day summers. On June 15th, of course, that's when our fund code D, E, and F are due. So you will not be able to add any regular term orphanage records after that date. You will be in corrections for approvals. So if you still have some errors to work on, and sometimes that happens because of our DCFS file. So if you still have errors, that's okay. We will get you through them. In addition, you will have claims corrections through July 31st. So a couple things about corrections, particularly with the claims. If you do not have your claim data entered on June 15th, that is fine. What we don't want you to do is panic and go enter in like placeholder data or anything like that. So sometimes people will put numbers in to make the errors go away because of that due date, but we're actually in corrections and we don't need anything entered into those claims fields for you. There's no requirement on June 15th that that data exists then. So the bad thing about the placeholders is that sometimes people forget that they did that, and then they file a claim that's pretty much a bogus claim. So then when vouchering starts, you're like, well, why did I only get $100 back? Well, it's because you put $100 in as a placeholder. So just leave them blank if you're not done. Okay. It's okay for them to be blank. And we would prefer that they be blank. Um, Getting errors to go away can kind of come back and get you. So we don't want to do that. The errors are good. They're a good reminder to you. Yes, they can be daunting, but they're still a good reminder to you that, you're not complete. Something still needs to be done. Alrighty. So we will be at Directors Conference on June 22nd and the 23rd. We will have a table half a day on the 22nd. And we will have a session on the 23rd. I believe it's the 10 something session. I can't remember. It might be like 10:15 or something like that. So we're going to talk about claims, overview of claims, kind of a higher level than what we would do with you guys, and talk about when things are vouchered and that kind of thing. So we will have a session. And then on the 25th, we're going to have a preparing for personnel group training. And then on June 30th, that's when you can no longer make changes on approvals for orphanage records for regular terms. So Fund D, E, and F approval corrections will close. And then also your interpreter data is due that day. So we'll have some things coming up in July that we will obviously be warning you about. One of those things will be your indicators that are due. So you're going to have indicator 11 and 13 due on July 15th. And we will be sending emails on any indicator 11 students that have exceeded the 60-day timeline and have a non-compliant reason entered for that overage. We just want to make sure it's not a mistake. I mean, if that's what happened, there's nothing, you can do about it. If it's correct data entry, we just want to, again, to make sure, bring your attention to it and make sure that it is correct as far as the reason goes. And then we're going to also
Oof.
send any send emails on any indicator 13 that are warnings in iStar. So that means that they are meeting. Okay, so sometimes people are only looking at the errors, and we understand that, but the warning for indicator 13 um, is negative for your determinations for your district. So we do want to bring your attention to that as well. So we will start sending those um, pointed emails regarding that um, soon. I can't remember when they asked us to send them, but I think it's going to be maybe this week. Um, okay, so I already see some questions, so I'll go ahead and answer those. You can ask questions in the chat or you can unmute and ask me questions. So first, is the school year calendar out? So I saw that email this morning on that 60-day timeline calendar. That is not our calendar and that is not an ISB calendar. So while it's a nice tool, I think someone in your district made that. So need to figure out the source of that, I suppose, because it is tailored to your specific district calendar. So it is a nice tool, but we did not make that. All right. As far as analytics goes, that has been submitted to ISB. I don't know when their next deployment will be, but they do have that. So that has been reported. Is there a way to finalize your interpreter data? Yes. Let me log into the training server and show you how to finalize that. It'll take just a second to get in, so I'm going to go to the next question. How can we do a placeholder for Fund ENF by June 15th? Um, okay, so June 15th, you just have to have your approval records entered for those fund codes. So D, E, and F. You have to have the approvals in the system by June 15th. In other words, you cannot add after that. Okay. For interpreter data. So after you enter the data on the final form, you can hit done reporting down here at the bottom.
I don't have a day off in.
Okay. On the program definition page, when you put in the total federal funds, do you include salary and benefits or just the salary? Anything that's paid out of federal funds, you will put under federal. So if it's benefits that is paid by the district, but they're paid with federal funds, then you're going to put that under federal funds. Okay, if a student was exited and indicator 13 is an error, what do you advise? Well, it has to be filled in. So you'll have to complete the form. If it results in no's, that means they were 14 and a half while they were there. So, um, unfortunately, it would be, a ding. Okay, and Cheryl shared the screen that I'm looking at, but it's also on our website under Hot Topics, and it will be in the news briefing today. So that screen that had the calendar on it. Okay. Okay, you've been editing the 60-day time. Okay, so the actually ISB just released a new um calendar application. It's awesome. It's beautiful. Let me find the link. Um, I lost it. Here it is. Sorry. This is a new inquiry. I don't know if I share that link. I think it will work. Yeah. So Maria, this is what you're looking for is your district calendar for next school year. So you would select your district here, but it's really nice. So this is brand new, hot off the presses. Okay, let me scroll back up. Let's see. All right, interpreter data. So after you fill in the data for the final time, so if it's the last school, then you're going to click on this done reporting for district finalization. Okay, so I was just on the screen where you add for a school. So we just pretend that this is the final school that you're doing. And then you hit done reporting, yes. Okay, all right, so back to indicator 13, if it's a warning. If they were 14 and a half at the time and you have a warning, then it will still be a ding. If there are two different kinds of warnings. So we give you a warning 6 months before. So when the student turns 14, you get a warning that it's upcoming and that you're going to need to work on that and get it filled in. If it's the warning that they don't meet, then that would still obviously be an issue. Okay, so as far as finalized calendars for this year, last we checked, over half the state were not final. So you just have to check separately. We don't know per district. Okay, so again on indicator 13, if they were 14 and a half at the time you were serving them, then you should have had indicator 13 filled out for them. They should have had a plan in place. Okay, I dropped the website for the new calendars in the chat. It's that apps.isb.net. If you just scroll up a little bit, I'll do it, drop it again. Can you see that, Cheryl? Thank you, Kendra. Okay, good. Okay. All right. And then Cheryl reminded me there is under utilities a school day calculator for indicator 13, or I'm sorry, indicator 11. I forgot about this. So that's in regards to the 60-day timeline. Or I guess you could calculate anything you wanted to, but so you would plug in a date, the date of the consent, the consent was signed, and the date of the meeting, and it will give the number of days in between. So this would obviously be something you would want to use before you schedule the meeting. We need a news briefing article on that, don't we? Okay. If you're looking at your calendar and it says amended, that's where it should say final. So if you're seeing amended, you should see final there. So typically they're supposed to finalize the calendar on the last day of school. So when school's out, that's when they're supposed to finalize it. Some of them finalize, some of them do the final amendment and think that they're done. Unless something changed with this new application, it is 2 steps to finalize it. So you do your final amendment and then you mark it final. I may not be saying that properly, but we would have a lot of issues in previous years that they thought they were done once they did the final amendment, and that wasn't always the case. So maybe they changed that in the new application, but I don't know. All right. Do we have any other questions? So our director just sent out the interpreter reminders. So if you get those, that's why. Approving the calendar is the district superintendent's responsibility, ultimately, yes. So we don't have any control over it, but we do try to kind of push them in that direction with some reminders and things as we approach the ending of claims. So we want them to be final for claims and indicator 11. That is where our interest lies. So of course, as we approach those due dates, then we definitely want to make sure that they are final. Okay, so you're going to find calendars on this new app. We dropped in the chat. I'll drop that link again. Yes, and Mary Ann pointed out, if you don't have any interpreter data to report, then you just come in here and click on this check, and it will put zeros in everything. So you would just say yes on this screen. That's if you don't have any to report. And then it automatically enters zeros for all your schools in your district. So yes, Tracy, with the per caps not being out yet, I mean, we'll get as far as we go. You can finish programs without them. It's just not going to calculate the claim correctly. It will for orphanage. We don't rely on the per caps so much for orphanage unless we're using per cap. So, sometimes we'll advise you if you have a speech only student that's in kindergarten or above that we just use the per cap. Or if it's a kid that wasn't there for very long, or very low percent of special ed, if they're maybe 1% special ed all year, then we advise you to use per cap. So those we won't be able to finish, obviously. I don't, I haven't heard an update, but I mean, I don't suspect it would be that much longer, but I don't know. Last we had heard was that we would have them on the 29th. So I don't have an update, unfortunately. Okay, and then Denise, I would assume that you put the interpreter data in. I know you do the data entry for the student approvals, so unless there's someone else that's working at iStar. And if you use Embrace for your IEP system, I did work with someone last week. We were working on claims and they were sharing their screen, and then they had some questions about that afterwards. And I was able to see some screens and reports that I hadn't seen before. So I was able to see what it looked like. Looked like it's something you definitely want to put into Excel and kind of work in there. Okay. Yeah, Denise, I don't know who did it last year, but somebody did. Okie doke. So this is our third year for interpreter data. Okay, do we have any other questions? You guys are quiet today. We've had a lot of one-to-one sessions on claims, and those have been going really good this year. So I'm encouraged. People are new users mostly that I've had are having a lot of success with the program definition. Yes, there is a report in Embrace. Um, Let me find the instructions for you. So it's two reports. Looks like everything was kind of, um, I don't know really what the sort was. So like I said, it looked like something you would definitely want to export into Excel. All right. Did I hear you say we can leave the fund e-claims blank for June 15th? Yes. We have corrections through July 31st. So for June 15th, you just cannot add any fund D, E, or F records after that date. I mean, we would love that if, you had your approvals and claims done on June 15th, but sometimes it's just not able, I mean, you just can't physically do that. So it's a quick turnaround. Some of you may be still in school. So we know that we're going to be leaning on that correction period. And now, at June 2nd, without per caps released, we definitely know we're going to be leaning on the correction period. So just make sure that you have all of your D, E, and F records added. We won't have the May DCFS file for about 3 more weeks. Angie, is it a current year calendar that's missing or next year's? They may not have next year's in. What district? Ruh-roh. Put their names in the chat so we can check them. Thank you. Ah, okay. And I assume you know that they were there before. I I mean, do have districts from time to time that don't ever, that take forever. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's more than, all right. Okay. All right. Mary Ann's on here, so they're gonna look into it and see what's going on. But yeah, that's where they're looking to tell you. Okay. Yep. They're gonna check it. Thank you guys for the examples. Mm, yeah. If one of you guys wants to make sure that they're available in iStar, if you want to look at a program, we really want to make sure that they're in iStar. If the inquiry's lacking, that's one thing, but we want to make sure that they're still in our system. So that just launched yesterday, so it is brand spanking new. So they'll get it fixed. Okay. Well, good. It sounds like the calendars are populating in iStar still. If your just if your calendar is not on the new um inquiry, you don't need to reach out and let us know. They already know that there are some missing. If it's missing from iStar, yes, we definitely need to know. Oh, yeah. Marion just said that. Okay. Any other questions, guys? You can look in your program definition, or if you have any claims that are calendar method, you can look there. You can look on indicator 11. I think that iStar's okay, but if you find that it's not, please let us know. Okay, I'll wait a few more minutes and see if you guys have any other questions, but otherwise I'll let you go. Yes, everything is good with indicator 14. We only use programs for Fund X and E, correct? Yes. Although a lot of people are not filing excess cost anymore. You're welcome. You don't have to change your X's to A's, but if you're not going to file the claim anymore, then you can. Um, Also, you want to double check that those X's won't qualify for S as in Sam. I'm still seeing a lot of data where they have not been changed to Fund S. So I think some people still don't know about Fund S, as in Sam. I do have most of this recorded, I think. I've been trying to record all of them. I have this set to record by default and it doesn't always work. So I think that it has been recording the whole time. I like these meetings too, EG. I think that they're, I mean, we always have to do the group webinars and everything, but I like these better. Okay, so Fund S, those are separate public day schools that have gone through the approval process with ISB and have had a set rate, a daily rate set for their services. And they are reimbursable
Like you're talking like right
with
at me. I'm like, what?
proration once you spend 2 times the per cap for the district. So they are reimbursed just like Fund B, and they actually come from the same funds. So I'll show you the
Oh,
list.
how are you doing?
It's on our homepage under Hot Topics, Approved Fund S programs. If they're not on this list, then you cannot add them as a Fund S. So excess cost, this I think is going to be the 5th summer that we do not anticipate any training. Okay, I don't see anything else coming in. So I will go ahead and let you guys go. And I'm going to be adding, when I catch up here, I'm going to be adding in a coffee talk on reports. So you guys had a lot to say on the survey about reports, but we didn't get a lot of suggestions. So, um, short of, it's not going to go back to classic. So we need some help on what, um, what needs to be done. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to try to get that posted this week. The survey's closed, but if you have recommendations or whatever, just let us know. We've been publishing articles every week in the news briefing about some of the responses because some of that was just some training. So just things that people didn't know how to do. And so we have been every week running an article in response to the things that we could correct or could just give you, education about. And then the team has already implemented some of the changes that were requested into the system. And some of you saw those reflected in the deployment. Um, so those things that were changed were, big requests. So they'll be starting on, those first and then working their way down the list. Okay. Don't see anything else, so I will let you guys go. Keep your eyes peeled for new sessions, and I will see some of you guys tomorrow, probably. So have a good week, guys. Thank you for attending.